Hey, it's Daniel and Craig here. We're going to talk you through our interactive activity called Encrypting Files. This activity is a real hit with learners and more than 14,000 young people have played it.
It's a great way to introduce cybersecurity in the classroom. You'll see what it's like to use the real-world tools that are used by cybersecurity professionals. Now, this activity introduces cybersecurity, encryption software, and using a command line interface, but you don't need to have any experience in those areas to use it.
No, what we've found is that this one works really well for S1 up to S4 computing science classes. It involves a bit of copying and pasting, but everyone should be able to complete it. If you're thinking of trying this activity out yourself or with a class or group, here's what we'd recommend you do. We'd say first, watch this playthrough video. Next, play the activity yourself from start to end, get a feel for it. And lastly, read the sample slides and then adapt them to suit you.
You don't need to download any software to play the activity. You just need a modern web browser like Chrome or Firefox. Head straight over to our website, cyberskillslesson.com. Okay, Daniel, let's do it. You're on our website, cyberskillslesson.com.
Yes, so this is where you'll find all of our activities. If you scroll down, go to find the grid of all of them. So the one we're looking for is encrypting files. So here it is. So I'm going to click on that. And Craig, we've got a bit of information about the lesson and the objectives of it. And there's a big button that is play. That's going to take you to start the activity. So once you arrive at the activity, it's going to ask you for your first name and for your school or your group. It uses this to personalize the activity. So let's put in my name. So Daniel, and let's go.
Great, so let's get started here. Activity 1, encrypting files. So it says encryption is a great tool to protect your information. Once a file has been encrypted, it's almost impossible for anyone to be able to know the contents of that file. The file is protected with a key, usually a password. And the only way to read the file would be to decrypt the file by typing in that password. So let's get started, Daniel. Let's do it. So this interface we're using here, this will be throughout the whole activity. And on the left-hand side is where you'll see the instructions. And on the right-hand side, Daniel, that's our command line interface, isn't it?
Yeah, so on the right-hand side, we've got a command line or a terminal interface. So this is how you're going to interact with the activity. You are going to type in the commands, you'll press enter, and the activity will run the command that you type in. This is a really common way of interacting with a computer, particularly for people who work in security and other tech roles. So it's a really useful skill to have. But what I would say is, if you find it's not working right, copy and paste the commands from the left-hand side.
Yeah, most times when people make mistakes when they're doing this activity, Daniel, it's because they try and type out everything themselves. So yeah, copying and pasting is going to avoid some of those errors. I'll read through step 1 then. So we've been sent a message from our friend Sam. The text is named secret.txt and it's in a folder called secure. So let's find the message from Sam. So use the terminal commands to navigate to the folder, the directory called secure, and find the file. To find out where we are on the computer, we can use the command pwd.
Click on the right-hand side of the screen, so my cursor is in the terminal. I'm going to type in pwd and press enter. And there we go, we've got a result. So it's saying that we are in the home folder, and in home we're in a folder called user, and in user we're in a folder called desktop.
And that's your path. That shows you where you're situated on your computer just now. So we're in the desktop folder, which is inside the user directory, which is inside the home directory as well. So step 1, Daniel, completed, no problem.
Step 2, we are going to get a list of all of the folders that are on the desktop, because that's where we are right now. And the command that we use is ls, and ls is short for list. So type in ls, press enter. And I can see here, Craig, we have got 3 different folders on the desktop. We've got photos, music, and secure.
So step 3, let's move into the secure folder, okay? So to change directory, to move between the folders, you use the command cd, okay? So here's the instruction here, Daniel. Are you going to trust yourself or are you going to copy and paste it?
I'm going to copy and paste it because this is what we recommend that the learners do on the whole. So I'm going to copy the command and then paste it in on the right-hand side. And what this will do is it will move us into that secure folder. So we are now in the folder called secure. Let's see what's inside it by using that ls command. Now ls is the one that lists all of the files and all of the folders inside the directory that you're in. So Craig, shall we do it?
Go for it.
Here we go. ls.
Brilliant. I have to say at this point, Daniel, we've used pwd, ls, and cd. So these are like really common commands that are used in the command line all the time. So if your learners are interested in using something like the Linux environment or other tools that use the command line, these are some of the most common things that people are going to be doing all the time. They are based on real life operating systems. This is a simulated environment that we're doing them in, but the commands are real, Daniel, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. If you have a Linux computer, maybe you've got a Raspberry Pi or something, or even if you've got a Mac and you open up the terminal, these are the real commands that you would use and you'd be able to navigate through your own folders with this interface. So yeah, although this is a simulation, it is representative of an actual command line interface that you would find on real computers. So Craig, we've managed to locate this file that we're looking for called secret.txt, but we want to read that file. So we're going to need another command, and the command that we're being told to use is cat. So we're going to type in cat secret.txt, cat to open it and read it, and then secret.txt is the file itself that we want to read. So cat secret.txt.
Okay. So it's shown us the inside of that file, Daniel, and that just looks like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just a bunch of characters there. So this instruction says, step 6. Oh no, we can't seem to be able to read this file. Sam has protected the file using encryption software. Now, encryption software is when you take a file and scramble the message in such a way that it's unreadable by anyone. Nobody is able to see the contents of the message once it's been encrypted, or certainly you wouldn't be able to make sense of it. Like, we can't make sense of that there. The only way that you can turn that file back into its original format is to do the opposite of encryption, which is decryption. So to perform encryption and decryption, we use a key. So in this case, we're going to use passphrase, a type of password, to be our key to decrypt the file. Now we know something about Sam who's made this. So Sam has been using GPG, which is also known as GNU-PG, which is, professional software. This is real software that is used by cybersecurity specialists, by computer users to encrypt and decrypt files as well. But if we're going to be using this software, Daniel, we need to install it on our environment.
Yes, so we have a command that we're going to use. And this is a command that if you've set up a Linux computer, you're going to be very familiar with. This is how you download and install a program. So sudo apt-get install and then GNU-PG. So I'm going to hit run. And it's going and fetching the files. It's installing it. And I can see here at the bottom, GPG is now installed. Okay, we've got the software, Craig. We need to decrypt the file now.
Go for it. What's the next step?
So the next step is to decrypt that file and call it reveal.txt so that we can read that message that we got from Sam. So we can copy and paste this command to prevent any typing errors. So here's our command, and it starts with GPG. That's the program we're using. And what we're going to do is we're going to output the kind of encrypted file inside this other file called reveal.txt. So let's copy and paste that in. And it's asking us for the passphrase that was used to encrypt the file. Now, the good news is Sam has told us what the passphrase was. So I can see here it's lavish some snapback.
Some 3 random words there. So yeah, lavish some snapback.
Great.
So that's our key.
Okay. So it's saying here that it was encrypted using AES. That is an encryption algorithm. And what it then did was it then wrote that to file So it looks like it's worked successfully, Craig. So let's see if we can see that decrypted file. So step 8 is to look inside the folder to try and find the decrypted file. So I'm going to type in ls. Here we go.
There it is, reveal.txt. So we can see that original file that we had that was encrypted, which is the secret.txt. And we can see the new decrypted version of that, the one that we called reveal.txt. So if we want to see the contents of that file, let's use the cat command and read that file. So cat and then the name of the file, Daniel.
Okay.
What does it say?
We've not got a little gobbledygook this time. We've actually got a message that's a bit more coherent. So it says, which location shall we meet tomorrow morning? So this is the message that Sam sent to us that was encrypted with that passphrase, lavish some snapback. So we've decrypted it. Great. So step 10 is saying Sam is asking for the location of our meeting tomorrow. Let's send an encrypted reply back to Sam. This means the only person that'll be able to read the contents of a reply will be Sam. That's what we want. Firstly, we need to add a response to the file. Let's tell him that we will meet at Glasgow Central Station. So we've got another command here. And what this command does is it adds a sentence to the end of that file. We're adding some text onto the end of it.
So you're going to use the echo command and you're going to pass it into the reveal file. Okay. So let's check it, Daniel, and make sure that it was added to it. So the command to read the file, to show it on the screen, is cat. Let's have a look.
So here's a tip for you. If this is a command that you have used recently, you can actually use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to look back at the things that you've typed in the past. So there's 2 reasons why I do this all the time. One of them is to save me time typing. If I know I've just run it, I can go back and run it again. But also, if I've made a long command and there's a mistake or there's an error in it, rather than type it out all again from scratch, I might just hit the up arrow and then go and edit it. So I've pressed the up arrow, or you could copy and paste it, cat reveal.txt. So Craig has added another line. So there's a line underneath the original message from Sam, and the bit that we added was Glasgow Central Station. That's worked.
Excellent. So now that we've added our response, why don't we use the symmetric encryption to encrypt the message back before we send it to Sam? And we're going to create a new encrypted file, and we can call it hiddenreply.txt. So here's the command, Daniel, from GPG that allows you to encrypt a file.
Okay. So again, it starts with GPG. That means we're using GPG to run this command. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the output of it in this new file called hiddenreply.txt. And the way that we're going to encrypt it is we're going to do it symmetrically. And the input is reveal.txt. Now, these are quite long commands, Craig, but these are the way that it works in real life. You could actually look up the docs for GPG and you would find the kind of breakdown of how you should lay out these commands and what they all mean.
Yeah, we didn't just know this off the top of our heads. We looked it up, we read the instructions on how to use these tools as well. And that's true with anything that you're doing in the command line. You don't want to, you're not expected to remember all the commands in one go. What you're expected to do is look up the documents or the manual for it, the documentation, and it will give you examples of that. We can look up some of the docs later, Daniel.
Yeah, I've got them open, so we can jump back to that in a bit. So let's run that.
Yeah, run it.
And it's asking us for a passphrase. Let's use the same passphrase again, because let's assume that no one else has found this out, and let's assume that this is still a secret only that us and Sam know about. So let's
and
enter
all the people watching this video.
And all the people watching this video. So it's asking for us to fit it in twice, because if we made a mistake, we'd want to know about it. There we go. Created file, hiddenreply.txt. Good work.
So we're using symmetric encryption there. Symmetric encryption is a type of encryption that uses the same secret key, both to encrypt the message and to decrypt it as well. So that means that if you know the key and both us and Sam know the key, we can both read and write the messages that have been encrypted using that key as well. What is the sort of advantage of using something like symmetric encryption, Daniel?
Yeah, I suppose the main advantage is it makes it simpler for us because there's just one key that we're dealing with. We don't need to have different keys for encrypting and decrypting, and it's very easy to get them muddled up. The other advantage is it's a slightly faster process. You can encrypt something much more quickly with symmetric encryption instead of asymmetric, which is the other kind that we're not using today. So if you were encrypting large amounts of data, you'd notice it was faster if you used symmetric encryption.
Great. So, Daniel, we've encrypted the file and it's created that file now called hidden reply. So let's check to see if the file has been created.
Okay,
There it is.
so I can see here we've got secret, reveal, and hidden reply. And hidden reply is the one that we just made. So let's send it to Sam. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to send an email using the command line. This isn't something that people probably do every day, but it is something that you can do in the terminal. You can do almost everything in the terminal. You just have to look up the documentation to find out how to do it. So we're going to send our encrypted message back to Sam using email through the command line. And this is the command that does that. So we're using the mail app this time. And what we're going to do is we're going to send a message with the subject, my reply. We're going to send it to sam@cyberskillslesson.com. And inside that email, we're going to put the file hiddenreply.txt. That's the encrypted file that we just created. Hit enter, email sent.
Excellent. So we want to cover our tracks a little bit, Daniel. We want to make it more difficult if someone was trying to look through these files in the future. So it says, as a final step, let's delete the files using the RM, and RM means remove. So this will let us delete the decrypted files from our secure folder. So let's ls your folder, Daniel, list what we've got in it. So what's the file that we want to remove?
So we want to remove the reveal.txt file because that's the file that's unencrypted, it's decrypted. It's the one that if anyone was just looking at the computer, they'd be able to see the contents without knowing the password, the passphrase. So if we get rid of that file, that means that what's left are the ones that are encrypted and protected with the passphrase. So let's remove it. So we're going to use the rm command, which means remove. And the file we're removing is reveal.txt. .txt just means it's a text file. And they press enter. So it should have gone, but let's just double check. We're going to type in ls again. Or I suppose I've used my up arrow twice because we just ran that command. Hit enter. And there we go. It's not there anymore. We've got secret.txt, hiddenreply.txt, and our unencrypted file, which was reveal.txt, it's gone. We used the R command to get rid of it.
So it says here, well done. You've used security software to decrypt a message and then send an encrypted message back to Sam. If you don't want someone to read your messages, then you should be using encryption. And some of the apps that we use, Daniel, already have encryption built into them. So if you use things like WhatsApp or iMessage and you're sending messages between your friends, the contents of those messages are encrypted. And they use a different type of encryption. They use that asymmetric, Daniel, don't they? They do it in a different way, but the fundamental aspect is the same. If anyone was to see your message, so if Apple or Meta or Facebook could see your message, they can't actually tell what the contents is of it because it is encrypted.
Yeah, in fact, you can go into an app like WhatsApp and in a conversation with someone, and there's actually an option to call like verify security code. You can see the key that's being used to encrypt the messages. And that's the same whether it's WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram or any other of these sort of encrypted messaging apps. This is a really common technology. In fact, even when you're just browsing the internet, most of the traffic is encrypted nowadays. So it uses keys, and this is how it works. At one end, it gets decrypted. You add on a bit of extra content, you re-encrypt it, and then you send it.
Okay, Daniel, let's take the quiz. Let's see how we do.
Okay. Question 1. Which software will allow you to protect a file and make it secure? Is it encryption, locking, or antivirus, Craig?
It's definitely encryption.
It's definitely encryption. It is. Next question. Question 2. Which command will let you read a file in the terminal? Is it dog, cat, or read? Well, we did this quite a few times in this one. I think it's cat.
It is cat. You might think it's read. I don't know if read is an actual command, but
I don't think it is. Okay, question 3. Why is it important to use encryption when securing a file or message? Is it to make your messages look cool with fancy fonts? Is it so that your computer runs quickly? Or is it to protect your message because the only person that can reveal the contents is the person that has the key or password to decrypt it?
Well, encryption is all about protecting files, Daniel, so it's definitely the third one.
Okay, another question. Once a file is encrypted, what's the only method that will allow the file to return back into a readable format? Is it rewriting, decryption, or detangling? Well, we did this in here. It's decryption. It's
I wish
the
it was
opposite
detangle.
of encrypt. Yeah, that'd be exciting. Decryption, and that's right.
Okay.
So one for you, Craig. Encryption key is similar to password, programming language, or a virus.
Well, the encryption key is the thing that we use to lock and unlock our file, essentially. So it's in this case, we use a passphrase, so it's most similar to a password.
There we go. So
activity complete.
Activity is complete. So this is the end of the activity. There are a couple of other places that we have linked to. But Craig, just before we do that, I thought we could look at the docs for that new privacy guard, which was the kind of main package that we were using, just to show you that this is a tool. So this is the website for the software that we were using. And if I go into the documentation for it, I can see here we've got some of the sort of sample commands and how you would use them. So you'll recognize like GPG --output --encrypt --decrypt. These are the actual commands that you would use if you were using this software.
Yeah, and they are written so that it should be easy for anyone who wants to learn how to use this software to pick it up. Although it is a specialist tool and it's used by a lot of cybersecurity people, the people who made this want as many people to be able to use encryption to make it as easy as possible. And the actual tool as well, Daniel, that privacy guard standard that's based on it, I think that's, about 25 years old now as well, but it's still used and it's still, it's still strong enough to protect the data that we have as well. It's open source software and it's free software as well.
25 years. You're right, Craig.
But there's also encryption software that is already built into the computer that you're using right now, whether you know it or not. So to protect the files and the documents that are stored on your computer's hard drive, both Windows and Mac, Daniel, have software built in and usually turned on automatically. Windows has BitLocker and the Mac has File Vault. And we've got links there to the BitLocker and File Vault. And basically what this does is it shows you where you would find it and how to make sure that it's turned on. So in this example here, this one's from Stanford University, it shows you how to check the status of it and to see if it's turned on. That could be something that your class might want to have a look at. They're not going to have enough privilege or permissions to switch it off or do anything like that. They might not even have the permission to see it, but it's worthwhile them having a look at that. And in a Mac, Daniel, it's called File Vault.
Yeah, on a Mac it's called File Vault and it works in a very similar way. It encrypts all of the files on your Mac and then it decrypts them when you send them to someone else. So yeah, it's a good activity just to kind of go and see if you can find these settings on the computer. You can even do it on phones as well. If you've got an Android phone, you'll find device encryption in there. And it's a really similar process to see how to turn it on and off. Even if you can't actually apply it or change the settings, you should be able to see them and see how they work. It's a good way to start that discussion.
So have fun using this activity with your class. It's a great way to introduce the topic of encryption. Also check out all the other activities and games that we have on the Cyber Skills Live website. So you can go to cyberskillslive.com or cyberskillslesson.com. We've got dozens of activities there for you can try out. Subscribe to our channel if you want to keep up to date with more videos like this, and have fun.